That's our consultant.
Can you introduce him?
So
Thank you.
Mr. Cohey is, I can't express how blessed we are to be connected with him and how generous he is with his time and his input into this. You can read his credentials in that report that you have before you. They're lengthy and amazing, and we're very thankful for him. And if he was even a little bit hesitant about this, we probably wouldn't even be having this discussion. But to have someone of his caliber, having taken the time to come out and visit our community, driven around in the mountains, looked at the territory, looked at the terrain, for him to be saying that this has merit, really speaks volumes. And Mr. Cohey, if you have anything you'd like to add, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Happy to be on the call, happy to help out. As Ian says, I've probably been involved with this almost from the beginning, probably a couple of years now. And I visited the site, I think probably a year ago. I got a chance to not only meet several folks, but I also got a chance to get up on the mountain and all that. And the comments, and I apologize, I don't know anybody else there other than Ian. I know Bill Wolf, obviously, and the council member who was making the comments originally about sort of the fear of this kind of thing is very well founded. So, as I said, I've been on hours of calls, and I've drafted a few documents and all that. By the way, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And I've seen the resort before that was proposed, and I think, you know, one of the major stumbling blocks of that one, as Ian pointed out, is that gentleman was trying to secure all the land as a private landowner, which A, didn't happen, and B, is unnecessary. Most ski resorts in California and Nevada are on public land. Most of the U.S. Forest Service, they operate under what's called a special use permit, which is a 40-year permit that the Forest Service issues for these types of businesses. As Ian said, and I guess it's a document that explains, you know, why I'm involved. At this point, it's a passion. I haven't asked anybody to pay me probably in over a year. I did receive a payment when I first came out for the first trip, but since then I've just sort of been helping because I don't think there's enough money, frankly, and I don't to support me in this endeavor. I don't need the money, and I'm happy to help. I really like these guys. I like Ian. I like Bill Wolf, passion for it and all that. So I'm a pro bono consultant right now, and I'm happy to do that unless things get crazy. I don't need another job. So I own China Peak Ski Area in California. I'm the senior member of the California Ski Industry and the Nevada Ski Industry Board of Directors. Been an operator for 29 years, president, CEO of Kirkwood, and then I was vice president of Headley. So I've been around a lot, and I know a lot about this. What's changed dramatically from the original proposal, and in my opinion, as I said to Ian and Bill and the other folks I met with, the prospect of a major ski resort to the top of World Peak is probably not going to happen anytime in the near future and may never happen. The biggest issue and the reason why you are being asked to fund this study is because the study is solely focused on one thing, and that is there a potential market for a ski-in, ski-out resort casino hotel? Without that, in my opinion, this is a non-starter. There is way too much competition. You folks there are surrounded by ski resorts. In Salt Lake City, you've got one of the top 3 destinations in North America. You have Lake Tahoe, which is where I live. I live in Nevada. I live in the Carson Valley, and we're surrounded there as well. You've got Lee Canyon spending a boatload of money with a billionaire owner who's throwing money at Lee Canyon, and you just had the purchase of Brian Head in southern Utah, which would be a competitor of yours, was just purchased by a guy that owns about 7 ski areas and is gonna be spending, a lot of money on Brian Head. Since we started talking about this, we've made probably a pretty dramatic change in terms of expectations for what the ski area might look like. It's gonna be way too big and way too expensive to try to compete on a grand level with places that I just mentioned. The mountain is fantastic. It's 4,000 vertical feet. It faces basically east. What I didn't know until I got there is that it's colder than hell there. I didn't realize at all, I've never been to Ely. When I drove in, this was probably a couple years ago, when I first met Ian and others, I was looking at the elevations, and it was 7,000 feet, and I was expecting to drop at any second, and then all of a sudden I arrived in town. So I didn't realize that you were at 7,000 feet, and I of course studied the temperatures and all that, and the temperature is cold. It's a cold place, which in the scheme of things, ski resorts, that's fantastic because, as was mentioned earlier, snowmaking is what everybody does now. If you're not in the snowmaking business, you are not in the ski business. That's just simply a fact anymore. Snowmaking started in this area almost 60 years ago, 1965 in California. And now we just finished spending several $1 million ourselves and installed a system that can produce 4,000 gallons of water per minute snowmaking. There are ski resorts in California that can produce 10,000 gallons of water a minute. So when it was mentioned earlier that without water and power, no ski resort is capable today. So having access to water, and you don't need 4,000 or 5,000 gallons of water a minute, but you do have to have capacity to probably produce a couple of thousand gallons of water a minute. And there gets into storage tanks and things like that, but that's another time. The purpose of the research is to see if you can drive business to a casino with the ski resort sitting out the front door. Because there's nothing like it in the United States. I don't know if there's anything internationally, but there's no ski facility that has a casino resort hotel at its base. Heavenly does not have a casino at its base. It has casinos at the base of a lift. The ski area itself, you can't get on a lift, you cannot get on a trail within 3,600 vertical feet and 4 miles of the base of the casino. This would be a casino hotel where people would be in the hotel, in the eating area, and looking out the front door and making the kids eat. That can't happen anywhere in America. And it can't happen anywhere other than probably Nevada. So that is the premise, and that is how the research project has been structured, to try to find, asking the right questions to find out, will people have any interest in the ski area that has a casino resort hotel at the base? The ski area itself, in my opinion, based on what we looked at and all that, does not have to be, and in my opinion, will not be a substantial ski area. It's a ski area that does not draw people to Ely on its own. It's a ski area that would have what I would consider to be minimally acceptable lift and minimally acceptable trails. So, for example, if anybody there skis or whatnot, if we're looking at something like a Lee Canyon, 1,000 vertical feet, 4 lifts, 5 trails, a beginner area, the basic, ski and board lessons, rental shops, all that kind of stuff. But it would be a modest ski area because A, that's probably what you can afford, and E, that's probably all that's necessary. Because the driver of the business, the customer, is going to be driven by gaming. It's going to be, I'm going gaming, but I'm also going to go skiing. It's not going to be somebody who says, I'm going to a ski resort, and then I might do some gaming. The gaming is a key component to the whole thing, which is what the whole purpose is of the research project.
Well, can I make I'll let the chairman do that. I'd like to just kind of shorten this up. and make a motion.
I'll let, if Shane has questions, and then Mike, and then we're taking a vote.
To say the least, it's an intriguing idea.
Absolutely.
To be able to incorporate Nevada nightlife into a ski area, I envision a ski area comparable to, Beaver, Utah. It's definitely not a place, it's a place I go to ski for a day back when my knees would handle it, but it wasn't where I'd go for a vacation. But there's people that go to casinos all the time for their vacations, and if they could do that, and their kids could come along and have a ski area, this is a really intriguing idea. My issue right now, the only issue I have right now is I've got a 12-page document dropped in front of me that I just haven't had a chance to read all of. I would like to, until the next meeting, to just be able to read through this and address it then before I vote to spend $40,000. I'd like to just take a little time to absorb this and get through it. But I don't know how everybody else feels.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, from the county manager's perspective, when you have been working on these policies, economic development, you look around any major development, any small development, it always starts as a seed, it always starts at feasibility. And we spent a lot of time, there's a lot of resources put into this already. We just need to know whether it's a go or not a go through the study. I don't wanna close, personally and professionally, I don't wanna close any doors prematurely. This is not a substitute for, my priority is housing and development. I don't see this as a either or situation. I wanna open all doors, whether the pump power project's gonna go, the ski project's gonna go, hemp farm's gonna take off, I don't know. But we can't shut those doors now. We have to leave all doors open and let private industry figure that out. We don't wanna be closing doors or hampering anything, because we always tout that we are open for business statewide, and we wanna always project that from a policy. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be responsible with our funds, of course, but we have allocated $900,000. Is that where we're at today?
Yeah, okay.
For economic development. And you've given that essentially in my budget. We're trying to be a good steward and find and identify those projects, and I wholeheartedly back this. This was something Ian and I worked on years ago before we even talked to Torn Rec. And you don't have to prove it today. If you want to look at the material, we can have it on the next agenda and we can talk about it. I would have asked maybe just to do a not to exceed 35 and sought $4 grand from Torn Rec or something, so there's some partnership on this, additional partnership. There already are partners. And with regards to the city of Ely, I hope they come along, but we can't wait for them. We don't want to be the leader in economic development in our community. We're the future. We have the resources and the professionalism and the structure and intelligence and organizations. We can move and shape in some ways that other entities cannot. So that's all I have.
So what I wanna propose is just, everyone can read it, bring it back next meeting, it's short, we take a vote, it goes, it doesn't. Then there's a change, does that work for you, Ian? Or, I'm just trying, we're just gonna shorten it up, there's no more discussion, sorry, but.
Part of this is time sensitive, so I was kinda hoping, we could get through this, and I did hate to drop it like that. But Mike has read it, pretty much our whole team has read through this whole thing, and the entity that we'd be working with comes very highly recommended. Originally, we were gonna work with UNLV, but they are overloaded with work, and so they subcontract with this guy, I think, in the past, and so, yeah, I understand, I don't discount Shane's concern about just signing things off without having read them, so you're not wrong, but I would like to move forward with this if we can. But.
What I would propose is that we use the $39,000 that the county would guarantee, go out and put other people to help us. But to move this along like Dean wants to do, that we guarantee the $39,000 or up to, in hopes of getting different entities involved in it so that we can get the ball moved. Too many times we discuss stuff and put it on the back burner, and 2 weeks later or a month later we do it. But we have an option here for a dollar amount of $39,000.
No, Richard, I'm just gonna, 1 minute, and then I'm just gonna call for the vote, and it is where it is, sorry.
That's fine, but I just threw that out there.
I guess that's for me then. Shane, I just wanted to point out that the document that you guys have strictly addresses the physical attributes of the area that make it plausible for a ski area, and that's strictly all that's about. And like Mr. Covey talked about, the study is separate from that. The document you have just confirms that the physical capabilities are there for a lot of the questions that are asked early, and that's all that document is about.
I think he was referring to the contract with this agency, with our RCG, is town line teams. Is that what you're talking about?
But I'm talking about both. I want the document that was dropped today,
Oh, yeah.
and I'd like to see it in cooperation with that. At the end of the day, I mean, we're in our infancy. I just don't see where 14 days is a killer on a project of this scope when we're this early in, and you know, to just drop $40,000 without just a little bit of thought and a little bit of study and a little bit of personal research, that's the only hitch I have. I think this is the most intriguing and exciting idea I've heard in a while. And, but I just wanna have some time to absorb this and get through it. You
I'm good
know,
with that. I'm good with that.
I look at this job, we have two priorities. Number one is public safety, number two is guard the public fisc. And just because we have $1 million doesn't give us a license to blow it without doing our research.
Okay, so I'll look for a motion to table till next meeting.
Move to table.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Pass unanimous. Kate, this will appear on our next meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen, for taking the time.
Moving to tentative.
Is going to discuss this. Hello.
This has been a Georgetown production. George Chachis reporting.